back. Travel Thursday.
Welcome back to Travel Support Thursday, the show where we answer all of your burning travel questions every single week.
Burning.
They're burning. They're
Sizzling.
just on
Travel Thursday. Travel Thursday. What are we talking about today?
Okay, yeah, I think we've got some really good topics. First of all, thank you all so much for all of the great questions and comments, especially around medical tourism last week. It seems like that's a really kind of hot topic, and a lot of people are very interested in it, especially with how ludicrously expensive healthcare is in the U.S. So, I don't know. That's what brought our attention to it, and we're glad that it kind of resonated with a lot of you out there.
And today we're answering some of your questions about Travel Tuesday, not to be confused with Travel Thursday.
Yeah, this is the better version, but the other one only comes once a year, so I think we're okay.
Yeah, and then today we're going to answer the 10 things that we do as soon as we land in a new country, or as soon as we know we're going to a new country.
Oh, right. So all those prep work things that you got to do before you get there, and then how to make landing feel good and not just an overwhelming big task list of 100 things to do.
That.
Right.
To start, we just wanted to follow up on the great conversation and the comments that we received from all of you from last week's podcast about medical tourism in general. We heard from a lot of you who also had great experiences abroad. Some not so great experiences abroad getting healthcare, but overall, it seems like this is a topic that people are generally interested in. So as a recap, last week, Josh went to see a doctor, a litany of doctors.
I went to see 30 doctors. So I signed up for the everything checkup at Bangkok Hospital in Bangkok. And it cost $330, and they ran, I think, 65 tests.
That's
was
wild.
The final count.
65?
Yeah, so blood tests, and then eyesight, and then my ears, and then they gave me a chest x-ray, and then they did everything you could think of that you would get across a year's worth of checkups from normal healthcare. They did it in about 30 minutes.
That's wild. Yeah. And overall, a pretty good experience. We did get a follow-up question from Boydster M., who asks, how did you decide on Bangkok Hospital for where to do your medical appointment? Medical tourism has been super intimidating for me to figure out what is a good facility versus a bad one.
Yeah, so Reddit is the kind of short answer, and a couple of YouTube reviews, but I would say the biggest thing is that Bangkok Hospital had right on their website prices, clear list of things that they'd done, and then a gajillion good reviews of people who had done the thing that I was about to go do, which was the everything checkup. And one of my big concerns going into it was would we be able to understand each other? I was about to see 30 doctors. So would I be able to communicate with some or all of them, especially as they're giving me back important information about my health? And Bangkok Hospital had a lot of very clear reviews that said, hey, everybody here speaks English. And I think that that's true across all the international hospitals in Thailand. I don't think that Bangkok Hospital is special for that. But they were right next to where we were staying. The prices were clear. The thing that they offered were clear. And lots of other people had talked about getting that same service from them.
Yeah, it's been interesting to see how much we rely on things like Reddit and Google reviews to see firsthand experiences of what people say. And this is not just true about healthcare facilities, but everything. Really, firsthand reviews is really what makes a difference for me for a lot of things. And to also know that, and maybe this is skewed, but it's often helpful for me to know if there are reviewers specifically that speak the same language as me. It makes me feel then perhaps people like me are welcome here. Yeah.
And I think I trust Reddit too much in a lot of ways, because I think Reddit is just filled with super skeptical people. Generally, it's the place that you go when you want the real info, but generally that just means a whole bunch of people who, if you ask them is the cup half full or half empty, they'd be there has never been water in that cup, and there will never be water in that cup.
It's running dry.
Yes. And that I think is the general tone of Reddit overall. So it feeds that kind of skeptical nature that I think I try to fight against personally.
Interesting.
But I find very useful when it comes to reviewing things or finding if a thing is real or
worth
not.
it.
Yeah, or worth it or not. And I think for that perspective, Reddit is useful, but if you spend too much time there, which I have, I think you just kind of come out of it with this very overly skeptical viewpoint on the world, this very negative viewpoint on the world, especially when it comes to medical tourism. And I found lots of reviews where it's just one guy had a bad experience, and then that hospital is just dead to the internet forever.
Yeah.
And
but isn't that true about a lot of reviews? I actually once heard a great piece of advice, which was, this applies to maybe all reviews, Google, Amazon, anything that has stars.
Yeah.
The 3-star reviews are often the most helpful.
For sure.
Because they give the most detail and the most balance, right? It's not just like, everything is amazing. Wow, the food was delicious.
Yeah.
Everything was clean. It was like, these are the pros and these are the cons.
Yeah. So I think that as far as like making a good choice for the hospital that you want to go to, which was my biggest concern when I was booking it, it sounds like it's yours too. I would say go to Reddit first, but just like know that everybody there is going to be looking for like what's wrong in the situation, and they're going to focus on that part for the hospital, and take that information with a grain of salt, and then go and look over on Google reviews, which will tell you generally all the things that are right. And then between those two things, you should be able to find good, useful information for like what's actually good for the procedure that you're trying to get.
Yeah, actually, well, one of the other questions that we got last week was, why didn't I go do one of these wellness checkups? And I mean, there's no real long answer except for that I already had a checkup in the last year, so I didn't necessarily feel like I needed one.
Yeah, and you kind of wanted me to like test it out
yeah,
first.
That's true.
To see what, because it's kind of expensive, you know? It was like $300 something.
Yeah.
And before both of us threw down that kind of money, I think we wanted to determine if this was actually going to be worth it. And I think afterwards, I would say it definitely was.
Well, and I mean, I guess the differences between a male and a female wellness checkup is different. But anyway, we won't go into the details. But essentially, I just didn't feel like, for me, it was something that I needed or necessarily wanted at the time. It might be something I would consider in the future for sure. But I already had a checkup in the last year, which was pretty great. But while we were in Bangkok, I did get a dental checkup, and that is something that we've done before in Thailand. And the same process applies. I looked at Google to see in the nearby area what kind of dental clinics were in the area. A lot of the clinics in Bangkok are actually really awesome because they are set up for people like us who are visiting, who may not speak Thai, who speak English, and just want to get either cosmetic dental work or just a health check or just a checkup or a cleaning like I did. Yeah. And I think the biggest thing that I was looking for was primarily I wanted to know how much it was going to cost, which almost all of the clinics list their list price for all of their services.
Yeah.
And I used Google reviews and Reddit thoroughly to look at what people's experiences were.
Yeah, and I think just the booking process for things like this is a little weird if you're coming from the US, whereas from the US, it might be a phone call or it might
leave
be
a message
online, but I would say most of the dental places and the hospitals here, you're going to book through WhatsApp.
That's what I used.
You're just going to message them on WhatsApp, so you need to have that. All of them will have a WhatsApp.
Yeah, or line. I mean, I think in the end, I was trying to decide between 2 different clinics in the nearby area. And I ended up picking the one that got back to me the quickest, and it was through line. Yep. And they had availability for the next day. The process itself was really easy. I just said, I am a new patient and I want to get my teeth cleaned. It's been a while. And they scheduled me, no questions asked. I showed up to the clinic. It was super clean. It was super nice. The people there were so friendly, from the receptionist all the way to the dentist and the hygienist. It wasn't maybe as thorough or as long of an appointment as I had expected from like past dental visits that I've had back at home. But maybe that's because I take good care of my teeth.
Yeah, maybe.
But I think to answer that question, it can feel intimidating, but reading everyone's reviews, specifically the good and the bad, and seeing that many people like us who travel to different countries go see these clinics and these doctors is really helpful. One thing that I didn't really know to look out for until this last trip was actually a lot of dental clinics in Bangkok, and maybe this is true for a lot of different clinics across the world. There are different accreditations and certificates that are internationally recognized. And that was one thing that I noticed across the clinics in Bangkok. So that might be another maybe reassurance for some people that are intimidated about it and want to know that the standards are maybe clear across the board.
That's it. Okay, what do we got next? What are we talking about?
So our next question comes from our friend Sarah.
Oh, what's up, Sarah?
Who actually sent us this Instagram reel asking us about what's the deal with this Travel Tuesday? Have you heard about it? Is this something that is worth it? Would you guys consider it? So the reel that she sent was essentially this person who was saying, don't book your flights for January, February, March, or next year until Travel Tuesday, which is this year, November 28th. So for those of you that don't know, Travel Tuesday is essentially this name for like Black Friday and some Cyber Monday, but specifically for travel deals.
Yeah. I'm a non-believer in this.
Yeah.
Is what I would say. I don't think that there's any real difference at all between flight or hotel prices.
There's that skepticism.
But I do think that there is probably a big price difference in like packages. And I think that those will go on sale next Tuesday. But I would love to be proven wrong.
So to be honest, when Sarah sent this to us, I hadn't really thought too much about it. At first I wasn't sure what Travel Tuesday was referring to. Is it like the idea that, you know, you always get better flight deals when you book on a Tuesday versus like a weekend? But then I looked into it and I was like, oh, this is an actual date that people say, November 28th, or the Tuesday after Thanksgiving, essentially, for those of you that celebrate Thanksgiving. That's when apparently there are massive airline, hotel, flight deals, whatever. I also am pretty skeptical.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we're kind of the opinion that if you see a good deal, just book it.
Right.
No matter what time of year or what time of day it is.
I don't know if this is real. There are some airlines that have announced deals that are going to be going on sale on this like Travel Tuesday. One of them is Frontier, is selling a year-long unlimited pass for $500, which honestly sounds like signing up for like the Seventh Circle of Hell.
A year? Wait, tell me more.
Okay, so you can fly as much as you want on certain Frontier flights for an entire year for $500. Now you got to pay for all the baggage and all the other stuff that they're going to hit you with as you're traveling, but
$500 for a year?
Yes.
It's domestic. So for those of you that don't know, Frontier Airlines is a U.S. based.
It's like Ryanair or AirAsia or whatever. It's
that
like that.
Seems. See, the person in me that loves a good deal hears that. I'm like, that sounds awesome. If I travel,
but then you'd have to fly only Frontier, and they're like middle of the night flights for the entirety of a year, which sounds just awful.
So
sounds terrible.
So yeah,
so that exists, and then like Hopper, for example, another like flight aggregator seller website, has said they're going to be offering like 30% off some of their flights. Booking.com is having a sale for like 10% off of hotels. There are deals, but I don't think that they're actually any cheaper. I just think that they jack the price up and then give you a 10% discount back down to feel like you're getting something, because they don't control the price. Like Hilton controls the price of how much a Hilton hotel will go for, and then different aggregators can either like set their own price, but they're all right around the same. I don't know. I think we should run an experiment.
I do think,
I think we need to run an experiment.
Maybe one thing that we could do is just, so today is Travel Thursday where we are in Southeast Asia. It's Thursday, November 23rd. And what we thought we could do is just like, I'm going to screen record my phone right now. So we're just going to go to googleflights.com and we're just going to go from, let's say like Chicago, Illinois, because Midwest, why not? And then Europe, continent, the entire continent. We're just going to see.
This way we'll get a whole bunch of different prices and we can see which ones actually went on sale and which ones didn't.
Yeah, when should we, let's say,
February.
Obviously after November 28th, but yeah, let's say like February 6th to February 21st. How about that? So right now for London, actually that's really good. February 6th to the 21st from Chicago to London is about 592.
Just hit the map.
Paris is 535. Rome is 570. So all around 500-ish.
Yep.
So I'm taking a screen recording and then we'll just do the same experiment on November 28th.
Yeah, so we're just going to put out a video on Travel Tuesday, like breaking down, if we can find them, the top 5 best deals to be had on Travel Tuesday. if there are any.
Okay.
I'm skeptical that we're going to find anything worth your time.
Yeah, I'm feeling like, especially with travel, it requires a lot of planning ahead of time. Like I don't see the benefit of waiting to till a very specific date to see if you get that deal.
Yeah.
It almost feels like if you see a good deal, just book it, because almost always it's just going to go away. We'll see. How about let's decide on the 28th whether this Chicago to London, Paris, or Rome, or Lisbon, or Madrid is any cheaper.
Either way, on Travel Tuesday, we're going to release a video on this channel that goes through just the best deals that we could find. So hopefully there's going to be a lot of really good deals, but to be honest,
skeptical.
I don't think anything special is going to happen. I don't think anything special, but I would love to be proven wrong.
This Redditor is skeptical.
Too much time on Reddit.
Surprise.
Too much time on Reddit. Yeah, I think we're going to have more of an update on this next week when we release that video. We might even do a live stream.
Whoa.
That'd be fun.
That's
we haven't done a
new.
live stream yet.
So the next question that we got is a great question that comes from Rick MC73, who says that they're starting to travel abroad from the U.S. this year. Canada, Banff and Jasper. Backpacking sounds awesome. Guatemala and Colombia. We definitely want to go visit those countries.
Yes.
So their question is, how do you all solve for the following fun, in air quotes, things upon arrival in a new country?
Yeah.
I hope these are mostly universal challenges. Things like getting local currency, understanding local Uber laws and how to use it or not use it, local smaller flights when you don't speak the language, yet changes are needed when a flight is late or missed, finding a gym to work out, especially when local weather is iffy. And last but not least, how do you actually really use Google Translate in a variety of real world situations? I think this is actually a really great question and something that
everybody struggles with these things.
We struggle.
Absolutely.
And we kind of sometimes take for granted all these little micro decisions that you have to make when you decide on visiting a new country. Even outside of the things that we do like upon arrival, there's tons of things that we do, but even before arrival. So let's just we thought it might be fun just to talk about what are, from start to finish, when we decide we're going to a new country, what are our things that we do.
Okay, so I think let's start before we even book the flight, which is way early. I would start at AA Sherpa. So American Airlines acquired, I think, or partnered with a website called Sherpa during the pandemic. And this website was the best source of information for figuring out what COVID tests you needed to take or what paperwork you had to fill out or any of that other stuff that you needed to do to travel anywhere in the world. So what you do is you just literally go to Google, you type in AA space Sherpa, and then the first link, which we're going to put down in the description, leads you to this website where you tell it what passport you have, if you're COVID vaccinated, and then you type in where you're going from and where you're going to, and it spits out not just your COVID testing requirements, but also the visa requirements, any arrival paperwork you need to fill out, any tests that you need to do after arrival, which is rare these days, but still does exist.
Yeah.
What the mask rules are, everything that you'd want to know before
about getting there. Yeah.
Yeah, before you fly there, if you need a visa or not. Did I already say visa? If you need a visa or not, it also covers that. All these information, as well as up-to-date links for the government websites of where you need to put these things there. It's great.
It saved you the extra steps of visiting each of these countries, embassy, consulate websites to figure out
which are always inaccurate.
What are the exit entry requirements? So yeah, I would say that's our very first step when we know we want to go somewhere. What are the entry requirements? Are there things that we need to do in advance? And then we actually, for a lot of these that aren't visa-free places, depending on your passport, you might have to fill out an application. We've had to do this for Australia, New Zealand. Yeah,
it'll tell you just in Australia, you need to fill out the Australian ETA, and then it'll give you a link to that, and that link will open up the app on your iPhone, and then through that app, you fill out the ETA and pay them $20, and then then you go back to the website and you're oh, I also need to fill out arrival paperwork, and then I need a QR code that I provide to them once I get there.
But I would say that's the first big step after booking our flight is doing our visas.
I usually do that before we even book the flight.
Oh, but don't they need your flight information?
Yes, but I want to know what I have to do to get in before I actually book the flight, right? I'd want to be sure that I can go.
That's true. And I would say also check the visa requirements for the country that you want to visit. If you can go, book that flight. Then go and actually fill out the visa application if that's something you need to do. Something that is also required for some of these visa applications is like the location of the place that you're going to stay in. So if you're booking a hotel, you should get the hotel booked and get that address for the visa application.
Yeah. And then at that point, I'm thinking about, okay, that's probably a one-way flight for us because we generally go like on big trips where we're like Sydney to Singapore to Bangkok to Hanoi. So if we're doing a loop like that, I'm thinking, okay, where am I heading next? And how can I make it look like I have an exit flight, but make sure that it's cancelable
or flexible
in case we change the date, time, or location that we're flying to next, which happens to us all the time.
Yes.
So generally for that, I'm going to use our American Airlines miles. I'm going to book proof of onward travel for when I think we're going to leave in a cancelable form, which is an award flight through them. And then after we arrive, if we change it, I'll just like cancel it, get the points returned, and then book another flight exiting out.
So that's like the pre getting there kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I would say like right before we leave for our flight, there are a couple of things that we're doing, right? We're setting travel notices with our banks,
Yep.
right? So
Credit cards.
if you have a credit card or debit card that you're going to be using abroad, letting them know what countries you're going to and when. Packing.
Yeah, just like jamming all of our stuff in a suitcase.
I would say packing is I would say that the level of difficulty that our packing requires depends on what kind of airline we're flying.
Yeah, we're always flying like the most budget, crazy cheap airlines. You know, like the ones with like 7 kilograms, which is like 15 pounds worth of like available stuff you can bring.
So
when you're bringing big microphones like these things and cameras like that, generally that's not a lot.
Yeah.
So not a lot of extra space.
We're definitely rearranging a lot and reweighing our baggages like down to the wire, even right before we're flying.
Yes.
Right before the flight, what do we do?
Aerolo. I'm buying right before we hop on a flight. I'll use the Wi-Fi at the airport before we leave
to get a SIM card.
To buy a SIM card, like an eSIM, is what we always buy through Aerolo or Ubiggy. Ubiggy for Japan, South Korea, New Zealand. I would use it again. Taiwan for sure, and then Aerolo for almost everywhere else. That we go, and
you can even install the eSIM. Like when you have Wi-Fi or on your regular, phone before you leave the U.S., and then just don't turn it on until you land in the new country.
Yeah, so we'll have that SIM paid for, installed before we even step on the flight to head there. So that way when we land, we just turn it on and bam, we got data right away.
If we're lucky, before the flight, we're visiting a lounge.
Yeah. I will, in that lounge, be signing up for whatever the local transportation/food delivery app is. So here in most of Southeast Asia, it's Grab and sometimes Uber. What's the other thing that we used here before? In South Korea, it's Kakao. In Japan, I have no freaking idea. I've never really used a taxi app there. I'm sure it exists, but I haven't found one.
Never really had to. I think in Australia, we've used Uber and Didi before.
Yeah, Didi's great as well for a lot of Europe.
Yeah.
So I'm just like doing a quick Google search or ending up on Reddit to be like, hey, what's the taxi app for here? And it'll normally tell you right away.
Yeah. So like basically using the Wi-Fi that you have to download all the relevant apps that you think you might need. So like Uber, Grab, Didi, and then like searching for those things. Google Translate, which I love, and Google Maps we use a lot. Something that I find really helpful too when we do have access to Wi-Fi before we get to a new country is downloading the maps. So I don't know if you know this, but like something that I recently learned is that Google Maps has an option for you to download a map of the entire city or the area that you're going to be staying in, which is really clutch in situations where you don't have service or you don't have data, you don't have Wi-Fi, and you need to find directions or you need to know where to go. So you can download the maps and use them offline. Yeah,
absolutely. And same with Google Translate. You can actually download the language of the place that you're heading to beforehand, which is also very, very handy for times that you don't have data on your phone.
Yeah. So we're in the lounge. We're, taking part in all the food.
Priority passing it up.
Yeah. If we're lucky enough. And then we're downloading all these things. We're getting all of especially if we're taking a budget airline, we're downloading YouTube videos. We're downloading things on Amazon Video. So we have things to watch.
We're also packing a bunch of food because most of these flights that we do, even if they're like 10 hours, don't include meals at all.
And maybe this is just a me thing, but I like
And we're cheap as hell.
And maybe this is just a me thing, but right before we get onto the flight, I like to make sure I have certain things in my pocket. So like I'll have my AirPods and my earbuds, the ones that you can plug directly into the TVs that if they have them.
Yeah.
And have like my passport handy, cuz I don't know, for me, like when I get on the plane, I just want to shove my backpack under the seat and just have all the things with me, because I don't want to have to shuffle around or just be the person that holds up the aisle as people are coming through. So I just like to have those key things in my pockets, and a USB charger.
For sure. And this big old battery pack that we bring with us literally everywhere to be able to charge our phones and our laptops while we're on plane. So we're on the flight. It's generally like a 10+ hour flight to somewhere else, usually with a connection, on the cheapest airline that we could find. So we're watching our Amazon Prime downloaded videos or our YouTube videos that we downloaded before we hopped on. And then
we don't watch the same things.
Eating countless protein bars and or Spam musubis that we brought with us on the plane. Usually also bringing our own water because, for example, we just flew this like 10-hour thing with Scoot Airlines, and they just like won't provide water to you on the plane.
You have to buy it.
So we'll pack all that stuff, having a good time on the plane, and then sometime on the flight, they're going to come around with the entry cards that you got to fill out, and then we just fill those out with the information of when we're getting in and when we're leaving. Then we land. Usually right after we land, I'm turning on my Ubigi or Airalo eSIM, making sure that I have data, checking the prices of Uber/DiDi/Grab or whichever service we're using, or more often than not, we're taking a train. So I'm using Google Maps to find the train route as well as how much it costs. Get in, get through immigration, show them all the paperwork that we had to bring, and then picking up a little bit of cash at the ATM, usually like 150 US worth after we land. And then picking up a train card, like we've shown in all of our 3 Days and X videos, picking up a train card.
If the places that we're in has easily accessible public transportation, that's what we're doing. We're always getting a train card and topping up to make sure that we have enough to get wherever we need to go.
Yep, exactly. Or grabbing a taxi through one of the taxi apps. So then,
whichever method that we're getting to our hotel.
However.
We are getting to the hotel.
You're the Queen of England over here? What
is that a British accent? Whichever.
People are going to be hearing us breathing into their ears.
So sorry. Sorry about that.
Whichever.
Anyway, whatever route that we're taking to get to our hotel, either, in a taxi or on the train, this is actually where I love using Google Translate. Yeah. So I think one of the questions was, what's the use case? When do you actually use Google Translate? I use it for a lot of different reasons. On the actual... And on the way, like as soon as we get into the country, even on the flight, I like to just search what are some of the like basic phrases that I should learn, that I should know when I'm in a new country. Yeah. So for example, we're in Vietnam. They have a way for you to listen to someone pronouncing it. So thank you in Vietnamese is Cảm ơn. Cảm ơn.
Cảm ơn. I think we're in Hanoi, so we can just let's just show them at a restaurant how we would use Google Translate. Let's just take a break here. We'll go and do that, and then we'll come back and finish this up.
Okay.
I mean, there's one right outside.
Okay.
Okay, so let's say that I'm interested in whatever this performance is that we can't read right now, but I don't know I can't figure out when it is or what it is or how to get tickets or whatever. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here, I'm going to hit Vietnamese from, and then English for the translate to, hit the camera button, okay? And then all I got to do is just point it at the sign. Okay, so it looks like we figured out that this is a dance show done by Hoang Quan Mai. There's people artists, there's choreography, and it looks like the thing is happening on November 22nd, so a couple of days ago. But so Google Translate, this also works mostly on menus at restaurants, kind of like anything you can think of that's in a different language. And also you can just take pictures of things, translate them later. You can translate websites by just taking a screenshot of them and then putting it in Google Translate. It's awesome. We use it for almost everything, including live conversations and translating those. It's really cool. Okay, hope that helps.
Okay, so that was super fun. So
Yeah.
just a nice little break. I mean, it's such a multifunctional tool, and we take it for granted
Yes.
so often because it's just great, and we
Yeah.
use it to like communicate with the person who's running the restaurant to ask them how much it costs, or there's just so many uses for it, and especially that like camera option where it can just live translate whatever's right. It's just
We've used it so much in Japan and South Korea.
Yes.
And what has amazed me is actually how many people there use it too. Like we've been to coffee shops in South Korea where I can't speak Korean, and they will bring out their phone and start tapping, what would you like to order? Would you like a small? Would you like a medium? What kind would you like milk in your coffee? You know, all these different things, all these different ways that we can communicate with people through this little app.
Yeah, like the barber yesterday, when he asked me, like, what do you want for your hair? And he, like, didn't speak English, and I don't speak Vietnamese, unfortunately. So I just, like, typed in the thing and held it up to him, and he was like, oh, okay.
And you showed him a picture? Or?
Yeah, and then I showed him a picture, but I just, like, typed in, like, leave it long on top and short on the sides.
That's
and stuff like that, and then
amazing.
just handed it to him, and he was like, oh, yeah, I know how to do that.
Yeah.
And it just, like, it solves all these problems that used to be just the language barrier was too high to possibly solve in any reasonable way, and Google Translate just solves them.
Yeah.
Instantly.
That's incredible. So that I would say is like the best use. I mean, there's so many uses for Google Translate, but that brings us to, we finally arrive in the new country and we get to go get food, I think is usually what we usually do immediately after arriving, which is what you just saw
Yeah,
there.
because we're starving because all we've eaten are crappy protein bars for the entirety of the flight.
Spam
The Spam Wazubis are a nice treat, but we don't always have them.
Yeah. So hopefully that was helpful. That's like kind of how we approach our start to finish when we're going to a new place, what we do. And if you have any other questions, please leave them in the comments below. We really enjoy tackling all of your travel related questions.
Yeah, because like when you said like fun in air quotes for those things, I actually do consider all of those things really fun, weirdly. And I think that's part of the reason why I love travel is solving those problems over and over again. Everywhere that we go to is kind of like putting a puzzle together. Yeah. Every time is like getting all these pieces that are important to our lives and making them work no matter where we go, such as like finding a place to record this podcast or finding a place with real internet to upload it.
Kind of just like become a part of our routine.
Yes.
And I don't know, I love routines. So they're kind of heartwarming.
Yeah. So if any of these questions didn't cover like the things that you needed to know or you want us to like go deeper into them, just ask. But we're going to come back to you guys all on Travel Tuesday, and we're going to show you exactly
the final verdict.
All of the best deals that we can find. And it might just be the shortest episode ever where we show up and be like, there's no good deals.
Or maybe we'll be proven wrong.
Yeah. I'm hopeful there will be so many good travel deals that we have found and we can come back and share with you. But I don't think there's
So for next week, ask your questions for Travel Tuesday.
Yep.
Ooh, that'll feel weird.
Ooh, yeah.
Will the jingle still apply?
Travel Tuesday. It just sounds wrong. It just sounds wrong.
See you then.
Good.